could talk, you could sing, if you could walk, you could dance. Yeah, and the trumpet is blown. Yeah.
Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is Raj here from the UK, and I'm back with a fragrance review today. Today I'm going to be talking about an eau de toilette from the house of Lubin, and it's called Idole de Lubin. So I'll give you a little background to the company. Founded in 1798 by a guy called Pierre-Francois Lubin, and the company started in France, in Paris, and his creations were intended for, or popular with high society, the fashionable rich people of Paris at the time. Also very popular, and fragrances were made for royalty from all around the world. So the company sort of developed and gained this worldwide reputation as a seller of fine fragrances. Fast forward to more modern times, in the 70s and the 80s, unfortunately the company went into a slight decline and had to be sold a couple of times, and so was in the hands, its ownership was in the hands of different companies, and was sort of on the brink of extinction, or going into being consigned to history basically, until a guy called Gilles Thevenin came along. He was really passionate about the House of Lubin, and he didn't want such a great company with such a great tradition and wealth of fragrances to go under. So he invested a lot of his time and money with a few other people to reinvigorate the house and sort of bring it back to its former glory. He had actually worked at Guerlain and Roca, so presumably he knew what he was doing. The company was then kind of like brought back from the dead, sort of, and in 2005 they came out with their 466th fragrance, which is the one I'm going to talk to you about today, Idole de Lubin. The company, I don't know if anybody saw one of my other reviews of, I think it was L'Artisan Parfumeur Zing, where I mentioned Olivia Giacobetti, who was the creator of that fragrance, and she's the creative director of Lubin, and she, she basically created Idole de Lubin, which is a kind of it's a reworking of the original fragrance, which came out in the 60s. But from what I've read, I mean, I've never smelt it, but from what I've read, the modern one is a totally different take and completely different. So this was put out in 2005, and the fragrance was sort of inspired by the kind of the spice route, or the spice trail, or how centuries ago you had people going to countries like Africa and Asia, and bringing spices which were so popular and prevalent in those nations, and sort of bringing them out to Europe and the Americas on ships, and that's how they were transported, obviously. So that's kind of how the inspiration came about for this fragrance. It's sort of a theme, or an imagery, or sort of a theme really, which is from what I've seen, explored by a lot of different fragrance houses, and a lot of fragrances are sort of inspired by this spice trail, and spices and oranges and rum and all sorts of exotic food and things like that, basically being transported across the seas. I think Mono de Orier's Vanille was one which I've come across recently, which was basically based on this same kind of inspiration. So let's kind of get into the bottle. I think the bottle design is incredible. Basically, it comes in this black cardboard casing, and simply just says Idole de Lubin, Lubin Paris, so it's a French company. And you won't be able to pick it up, but there is basically an African mask here, which you'll see a little bit later on. And on the back, you've got side and back, you've got these prints, kind of spirally prints, and sort of zigzag, thing going around the box. So it's really nice. And on the back, I won't read it out, but there is quite a good description of the fragrance. It's a 75 ml bottle, and yes, then not only do you have that, but then you also have this sort of kind of like a black brick almost. It's like a really cool case at the top there you have Lubin, and on the front you've got the kind of the, I don't know what you call that, the kind of symbol of logo or whatever of Lubin, and it's kind of got this, I don't know what you would call it, but a sort of pebbly, sort of stone effect going on here, like the print, and it's got there's a nice texture to the box, so it's quite interesting. Let's get the fragrance out. Now this is the best bit. I mean, this design of the fragrance of the bottle is just outrageous. You know, I've never seen anything like it. So I mentioned this African imagery earlier on the box, and here you can see it in much greater detail. I'll try and get a close-up there. I'm not sure how much you'll pick up. But basically you've got this sort of African mask down there. It really is spectacular, and you've also got this sort of beaded sort of necklacey style thing here. On the back, this imagery here was inspired by the sail of a ship, and it's kind of got like a diamond pattern going across there. And then you've got this sort of curvature going inside, and on the front there it says Idole. Incredible design. You know, the bottle, the colour actually looks pretty awesome as well. So, you know, you take it off, and this on its own is just crazy. I mean, I've never seen anything like it before. So yeah, it's really cool. And the atomizer works pretty well, so, you know, no complaints about packaging. So that's always good. Good start, I'd say. So, top notes. What am I picking up? What are you getting? When I sprayed this in store on a card, it was one of those fragrances where you literally, you put your nose to it and you have to take a kind of step back, because you're like blown away by this incredible boozy rum scent. Now they use rum absolute in here, but they use it in such an incredibly high dosage and concentration. It really took me by surprise, because I had never really, I'd read about this fragrance, about the rum notes, but I don't think anything prepared me for the intensity of this rum fragrance. And you know, kind of alcohol, rum is kind of a scent which I'm learning to really like in fragrances. If I had to make a comparison, it would be to Bikilian Straight to, is it Straight to, yeah, Bikilian Straight to Heaven, where you have that sort of initial blast of rum. But imagine that and magnify it by 10 times, and that's basically what you're getting in Idole de Lubin. It really is an incredible scent. But in Straight to Heaven, in Bikilian Straight to Heaven, that booziness, that rum note starts to get overtaken by a kind of a sweet musky scent. This one actually kind of stays straight all the way through the top and through the middle of the fragrance as well. It doesn't die down, which is something which I really liked. I really enjoyed the rum scent in Bikilian's creation, but I kind of wished it went on a little bit more. And this is exactly what I'm getting here, so really top marks here. What else are you getting? Well, you know, I mentioned that it's inspired by the spice trail, and, you know, people transporting spices on ships to different countries, and you're hit by a really strong, I've got it on at the moment actually, so you're hit by the sort of a saffron smell in here. There are other spices presumably in here. I get a slight pepperiness as well, but you really get this saffron smell, which is very, very strong. Saffron is actually quite an expensive spice. I think it's one of the most expensive spices in the world, and it does just have sort of a pepperiness to it, but because it's mixed in with the rum, it's never overpowering. I never found it too much to handle, but it is quite sort of fiery. You know, it's kind of like jumping out above the rum a little bit more, but it's never over the top. So it's something which I really enjoy. And in terms of top notes in fragrances, this is probably one of the best I've sampled so far. I don't have a huge knowledge of fragrances, but you know, over the last year I've been really getting into it, and so this is one of the nicest top notes, sort of opening to a fragrance I've smelt. And in terms of like middle notes as well, you're starting to get now a sort of a vanilla scent. But I would probably describe it more, not just vanilla, but maybe probably sugar, kind of a dark sugary scent which is starting to come through, a sort of a caramel vibe, maybe a burnt sugar almost. It's nothing like Witiam Art's creation, Sucre de Ben. That is a really intense, like a very, very much burnt sugar smell in your face, very, very strong. and this is kind of like a toned down version of that. So if you can imagine what that smells like, and then throw it into Idole de Lubin, you'll probably start to get an idea of what this fragrance is all about. And I would say this is where the fragrance is at its peak. You've got the rum, which is now starting to tone down slightly, but is there in the background, and you've got the saffron and this sugary smell just bouncing off each other. It's really superb. I mean, this note, this sort of accord, if you like, goes on for quite a few hours, and I really enjoy it. It's really great. Then the fragrance, I would say, I wouldn't say it declines. The quality is still there, but the longevity doesn't go on for a huge amount of time. I get about 6 or 7 hours actually, which is quite a long time. I haven't tried this on in the summer, so I imagine it will probably go on for a little bit longer in the summer, and my opinion of this fragrance will probably go up a little bit more. But it starts to fade away after the 7th hour, around that time, and what you're left with is still a great fragrance. Don't get me wrong, you've got a woodiness in there, which I've read that it's sandalwood, but I can't really pick up any sandalwood as such. It's more of I mean, I've had this on for quite a while now, and you are just getting a sort of a woodiness. Yes, there is a touch of that. It's not really discernible to me. Really what I'm picking up is a sort of incense, more of a smoky vibe, to be honest, but it's nothing too much. This is the dry down now, so you're not getting anything in your face. This is not like sort of like an Amber Absolute style incense and smoke vibe, but it's just nicely toned down. It's kind of similar to Timbuktu actually, another a L'Artisan Parfumeur's creation. And you know, what I like about this fragrance is that even though it doesn't go on for as long as I like, what I would prefer is a fragrance which I like from start to finish, and for it to go on for an average amount of time, rather than a fragrance which starts off great but then sort of disintegrates, and after 10 hours you're left with something which you're not really too keen on. So that's kind of like my take on the fragrance. It's probably probably haven't given it a fair review because I bought this in the sort of autumn time, and I've tried it on in autumn and winter, so I haven't tried it on in the summer or the spring. So you know, I don't know what it's like in the heat. I imagine it would be pretty good though, and I imagine the longevity would be quite strong. So in terms of rating, well, you've got the hang on, don't think I've mentioned the price. I bought this for, I can't even remember. I got it for about £70 odd. I got a slight discount actually, so I got it for around £70, and you get 75 ml. So it's certainly a significant amount of money, but nothing outrageous. Packaging, 10 out of 10. It's nothing over the top. It's creative, it's kind of artistic, and the imagery is relevant as well. So you know, you've got this African imagery going on, and it relates to the fragrance perfectly. Fragrance smell wise, I'm gonna give this an 8.5. It's so close to being a great fragrance. As I said, you know, I haven't tried this in the winter, in the summer months, when it's a little bit warmer, so I don't know whether longevity would be better, but at the moment longevity is kind of average. I love this fragrance. I would recommend it strongly. Definitely go out and buy a sample, or if you're in store, pick it up. You know, Lubin also have some very interesting other fragrances which I'd like to try. And if anybody else has tried this fragrance or any other fragrances in the line, whether it be a men's or from the women's line as well, let me know. You know, I'm always willing to hear other people's opinions and learn more about fragrances and learn more about this house. So that's my take on Idole de Lubin, creation by the French company Lubin, and yeah, I really enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Come on.